While riskier than sitting on the sofa doing nothing, a through hike is remarkably safe, but there are a few things that you can do to keep yourself even safer. Here they are. Hey trail friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about through hikes, and no matter which trail you are tackling, these tips are going to be key for staying safe out there. Through hiking any long trail, whether it's the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, or other lesser known long distance trails, it is an incredible adventure, but it also comes with its own fair share of risks. So let's dive right in. Now, the foundation of a safe hike is preparation. Every trail has its own specific challenges, from terrain to wildlife to logistics. So do your research and get familiar with the unique features of the trail that you are heading out onto. Now, before you hit the trail, the first thing you need to do is get your permits sorted, and then you need to have physical maps or a GPS device. And know the sections of your trail where weather and other hazards might pop up. Preparing in these ways before you leave is going to reduce the likelihood that you end up with some sort of unexpected, sketchy situation. Now, even the best marked trails can be tricky at times. So make sure that you have a reliable GPS or compass and map as a backup. And don't forget to check for any trail closures or reroutes. I think that's where most people go for these updates. While I'd give the advice to carry some sort of navigation redundancy, like paper maps or a compass, I didn't carry those. I carried my cell phone and my Garmin InReach. My Garmin InReach being this device right here. But those both rely on being charged. And so I would suggest doing as I say, not as I do. In addition to navigation tools like GPS and maps, staying aware on the trail is also really important. While hiking long days, it's so easy to zone out and just follow the path. But staying present, keeping an eye out for trail markers and signs will help you avoid missing turns, losing time, getting lost, and generally keep you safe. Next up is weather. Weather can change in an instant, especially in the mountains or during the shoulder season. So be prepared for anything that might pop up. Rain, snow, blazing sun. Layers are your best friend out there, and you are going to encounter all three of those things on the PCT. Now, while you don't want to carry more weight than necessary, ensuring your weather protection and layers are all well thought out beforehand is really essential. Even if it looks like clear skies, pack those layers and rain gear while you have to find your own personal balance between preparedness and excess weight. If you're newer to backpacking, or if this is your first backpacking trip, I would lean towards carrying a few extra ounces rather than being caught off guard by weather and finding myself in an unsafe situation. But that's a choice for you to make. There is always a balance between preparedness, what you carry to be prepared for all contingencies, versus weight. And everyone's perfect balance is different. So find yours. Don't carry too much, but carry enough. So next is wildlife. You are likely to encounter tons of wildlife. On the PCT, I saw everything except bears. I didn't see a bear. The key to staying safe with bears and most animals is proper food storage and staying calm and knowing what to do if you do encounter an animal. Very few of the wildlife that you will encounter on an American through hike are dangerous to humans, but there are a few, and there are things that you can do to reduce the chances of a negative encounter. First and foremost, be sure you know the rules of the area that you are in and ensure you keep your food stored properly. Trust me, I also highly suggest bug spray and a mosquito head net. They look ridiculous, but they work. I really thought I was tough. I was like, you know what? I just need a tiny can of bug spray and I'm going to be fine. It was not enough. We only experienced bugs maybe like less than a week on trail, but it was bad enough that I absolutely would not go into that area with that thinking again. If there are insects, mosquitoes specifically, where you are going, be prepared. Because there's nothing you can do once you're there if you haven't gone prepared. Bears. Now, while I did not have any bear encounters, many through hikers that I knew and chatted with on the PCT, they did. Now, aside from the very last section of the PCT, grizzly bears do not count the PCT as their habitat, but there are a very small number of grizzly bears near the very end of the trail at the northern terminus. Now, this is not a video about bear safety, but a few top level things. First and foremost, the best way to avoid bears is to store your food properly. But if you do encounter a black bear, fight back. Now, while I am in no way suggesting that you should be casual or cavalier when confronted by a black bear, you can stay calm knowing that black bears are very different than grizzly bears. While black bears can and have attacked humans, it is extremely rare. Black bears are generally shy and avoid people. But if you do encounter a black bear, first of all, back away slowly, make some noise, make yourself known. Make yourself look big with your arms out, your hiking poles, whatever you can do. Take your pack off and hold it out, whatever you can do to appear bigger than you really are. Use bear spray if you have it. If you're in bear territory, you should have it. And if all else fails, fight back. Now, if that bear is a grizzly bear, first and foremost, make sure you can identify the type of bear. They're fairly easy to distinguish from each other. But familiarize yourself with identifying bears. Because if you encounter a grizzly bear, you are going to take some pretty specific oppositional routes than you would take with black bears. So always stay calm, move away from the bear slowly and sideways. That allows you to continue facing the bear without the likelihood of stumbling if you're trying to walk backwards. Make noise, but noise that is intended to make the bear aware that you are there without intimidating the bear or provoking the bear. So instead of making aggressive noise at a black bear, we just want the grizzly bear to know that we're there. Surprise is the number one scenario in which a grizzly bear encounters go bad.
Hello! Hey, if you are sitting there thinking, oh, I want to travel more, I want to go on more adventures, come with me. I host trips around the world. We've been hiking in Patagonia, we went looking for the Northern Lights in Iceland, trekking in Nepal, camping in Banff, Canada, in the Canadian Rockies. We do it all, and we have a real good time. Everyone's welcome, and all the details for any current trips, just click that little bubble up in the top corner or go to my website, jjb.life/travel. And we almost always make at least one group cringy TikTok. So come hang out with us. We're a real good time.
Next, use bear spray if you have it. If you don't know how to use bear spray, maybe I'll cover that in a video sometime. But there is a technique to it. In short, you are not trying to spray it at the bear or at the bear's eyes. You are spraying it in a wave in front of you, the goal being to create a wall of pepper vapors. Next, if the bear follows you, stop and hold your ground. Do not run. And lastly, if the bear does attack, do not fight back. You will not win. You also will not outrun a bear. If it attacks, do not fight back. Play dead, preferably lay down, face down, and use your hands to cover and protect your neck. I would have been remiss not to address it, but I highly suggest if you are really worried about bears, I highly suggest you do some research. Take a look at how likely they are, how often they happen or don't happen. And hopefully that will put you at ease. As long as you are responsible and smart in the outdoors, it's very unlikely that you will have a bad wildlife experience. Again, I didn't see any bears, but I saw a tarantula, a desert tortoise, so many cool insects, so many deer, all the things, marmots. Oh, could those things be any cuter? lots of marmots. So anyway, there's some tips to help you hopefully experience, enjoy, and interact with wildlife in a safe way. Next, water. Access to safe water can make or break a through hike. Always filter or purify your water before drinking it to avoid any waterborne illnesses. Now, while some water sources can be drank from safely without filtering in certain scenarios, it's always a gamble. So do not assume that there will be water where you expect it. Do not take the risk of drinking water that is not filtered or purified. And don't count on water being there, especially during dry seasons or later in any hiking season. Always be sure to check the comments on any water source in far out before you depend on it for water. In those comments, people are going to be sharing what their experience was at that water source. Was there water? Was it a trickle? Was it dry? That's really, really valuable information. And research it in advance, okay? Don't wait until you're out of water to find your next water source. Research water sources miles in advance. And then I would suggest always carrying just a little bit more than you think you're going to need, just in case you get to that water source and it is dry or contaminated. Are you solo hiking? Then I would take some extra precautions. Always let somebody know your plan. And if it makes you feel safer, carry a small self-defense item like a whistle or pepper spray. If you want to bring a firearm, that's a whole other video. I absolutely would not suggest it. It's not worth it. In a lot of places, it's not legal. But that's not this video, and I probably won't make a video about that because that's not really my expertise. But I saw nobody with firearms. Nobody. I'm sure there were a couple. There was a dude who carried a cast iron frying pan on trail. There was a guy who did the whole trail in sandals. So I'm sure there were at least a handful of people on the trail who did have some sort of firearm, but it's very impractical, illegal, and a lot of I absolutely would not suggest it. It is not necessary. Next is hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is an unavoidable part of most through hikes. Luckily, it's not exactly the type of hitchhiking that you'll see in movies. In the areas where you need to hitchhike, the people living in the surrounding area, they're aware of the trail and they expect stinky hikers to be there on the side of the trail needing a ride. So often trail angels are already there waiting for hikers, or they're making regular passes by the trailhead to see if somebody needs a ride. Now, we will cover tipping trail angels in another video, but most trail angels accept and appreciate tips. Some expect them. If you're unsure of the expectations, just ask. Or my tactic, I just always offered. Sometimes they would say, oh no, I just do this for fun. And sometimes they would gladly accept what I offered them. Sometimes before I got in the car, they'd say, oh, awesome. Do you need a ride to town? Cool. I give rides for $10. Just talk about it. If you're unsure, now I would say the majority of through hikers hitchhiking experiences were positive. There's always a few bad apples, right? A few tips to ensure that you have safe hitchhiking from the trail. First of all, I would always try to hitchhike with others if possible. If you know you're coming up to a place where you're likely going to have to hitchhike, keep an eye out. If you're not with a family or you're not hiking with anyone else, just keep an eye out. If there's another hiker around, just ask if they're hitchhiking and team up with them. That is the best, easiest way to ensure that hitchhiking is substantially more safe for you, is to not be alone. However, if you do have to hitchhike alone, which I did, it was inevitable, I would take a photo of the license plate. A trail angel is not going to be creeped out by that. That's a very standard thing to do. I would just snap a photo of their license plate. And if I had cell phone reception, I would shoot it to my spouse. Even just having that on my phone, so there's some record of where I ended up, can be really valuable if, God forbid, something went awry. Next, I would suggest planning ahead so that you're only hitchhiking during the day. It may just be a mental thing, but trail angels aren't out at night. In general, there's not as much traffic at night. I never hitchhiked at night, and I would not want to. So I would try to be as prepared as possible to ensure you don't end up in a situation where you need to hitchhike. Not only will it be very difficult to get a ride, like people can't see you on the side of the road, they're not going to stop for a stranger in the dark. So you're very unlikely to find a hitch. I would avoid hitchhiking at night. Next, before you get in the car, know where you are going and how to get there. Turn your phone's GPS on, make sure you know where the car is headed, make sure you're going in the right direction. I would give that same advice to somebody who's getting in an Uber or a Lyft, but just know where you're going. And lastly, speak up. If you are uncomfortable with something, just speak up. Ask to stop, ask to get out. Say, oh, you know what? I need to go to that gas station. I need to grab something there. Can you drop me off there instead? Just speak up. Don't be afraid to say something. The only scenario I can think of that I heard on trail, a girl hitchhiked, gotten a few minutes into the ride, realized that the driver had a beer cracked open, taking drinks of it, and there were like 7 other empty cans on the floor of the vehicle. She was safe, nothing happened, but she did exactly that. She found a way to speak up in the ride early, and everything worked out okay. But don't be afraid to speak up and advocate for yourself. Confidence on the trail is amazing, but overconfidence is not. Next, injuries. Now, injuries can happen on any long hike or short hike. This is not the time to push through it. This is not a short-term effort where the small cost of pushing through an injury isn't going to matter because it's a short, 12-hour race and then you're done. This is months on end, and injuries usually don't just go away. So if you are injured, I highly suggest treating it properly. I had a back issue around Lake Tahoe. It's a hereditary disc issue that I've dealt with my whole life. So it was no shock in a certain sense, but it also hasn't flared up in 7 or 8 years. So while I know it's always possible, I wasn't expecting it. And I ended up getting off trail. I took 10 days, almost 2 weeks off, which was so hard to do. But now looking back, if I hadn't taken that time to properly rest and heal, there's no way I would have gotten to the finish. There's no way I could hike in the condition that I was in. I could barely walk, let alone walk to Canada. So first and foremost, take care of yourself. And when you get injured, do not just brush it off and push through it. Address it and fix it so you can get back on the trail as fast as possible. That being said, first aid kit, they're a very personal decision. What you carry and how you carry it is very personal. It's up to you. Mine is very minimal, but a few things that I always carry in my first aid kit. Number 1 is Benadryl. There's lots of things, especially on the PCT. I was going into a lot of environments where I've never been, and I don't know what my allergies are. I don't know that I'm allergic to anything, but anaphylactic shock comes on fast. So I always carry some Benadryl just in case I start to have some sort of reaction that I need to pause. Benadryl is not a magic fix, but it is a help. Next, an anti-inflammatory. I have to admit that I took ibuprofen most evenings, and I took it because if my legs and feet were more sore than on a typical day, if I took it in the evening, I would feel so much better the next morning. So much magic happened, so much healing magic happened overnight, and I would wake up in much better shape than I would if I didn't take ibuprofen. That being said, do we consider this an endurance sport? Probably, I think so. Ibuprofen and other medications do not mix well with endurance sports. You should talk to your doctor, but there are risks when taking medications like ibuprofen while exerting a big physical effort. Essentially, if you get too dehydrated, it can build up to concentrations that are unhealthy that your liver can't handle it. Now, those issues are normally most present in like ultra marathon runners who are running 100-mile races, but I wouldn't mess around with that, especially not for 5 months. So do your research, incorporate it responsibly. Next, antibiotic cream. So many scrapes and tears and things happen to your body. Unquestionably, that's the item from my first aid kit that I used most often. Not the end of the world if you don't take it, but it does make things heal faster, so you have to deal with them for less time. Next is leukotape. If you aren't aware of leukotape, it is a medical tape that is really popular in the outdoor world because It's a brown medical tape. And hot tip, okay, hot tip. Get the Leukotape hot. It just needs a little bit of heat. So just give it some friction and it will adhere to your skin. The reason people in this world love it is because once you have gotten it adhered well to your skin with a little heat, it stays on for days. It will last through showers, through swimming. It is really robust. And there's lots of different ways to use it, especially in the prevention of blisters. If you feel like you've got a hot spot that's about to turn into a blister, a piece of Leukotape can provide the protection that you need. There's lots of other uses for it on trail as well. So highly recommend taking along some Leukotape. And lastly, I always have a safety pin. There's lots of things that it can be used for, but it's especially useful if you need to lance a blister. That safety pin came in handy quite often. There are lots of other things you may wish to carry with you as well. I don't recommend one of the pre-made first aid kits. It's just overkill for this. There's a tiny ultralight one that maybe, but for me, I like to keep things on the lighter side, and I probably would never carry a full one of those kits. I might start with one and then pare it down, but you'll quickly realize that 90% of the things in a typical first aid kit you'll never touch on the trail. And just one last note about first aid on the trail. Trail injuries can escalate really quickly. So take care of yourself. Take care of them right away. Listen to your body and address those issues early on because they rarely just magically disappear on their own. Next, emergency preparedness. Emergencies can happen anytime, anywhere on the trail, and knowing the best way to get in touch with help is critical. Without question, a personal locator beacon or a satellite communication device like this can be a literal lifesaver in remote areas. This is a Garmin InReach. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a two-way satellite messaging device. In addition to being a GPS device, this also connects to my phone and allows me to send and receive text messages from anywhere on the planet with a clear view of the sky. Now, it also allows me, well, it's a GPS device, so it also does all of the things you would expect with a typical Garmin or GPS device, but it also allows me to contact search and rescue with a push of this little button right here. So if there were an emergent situation, I could flip open this little, they purposefully make it a little tricky to get into so that you don't accidentally push it. I could activate that button and then I could communicate with search and rescue to coordinate. I don't leave the country without it. Even if I'm not going into nature, if I'm traveling internationally, I always carry it. As long as it's charged, it's just such great peace of mind. And you don't have to have your phone to use it. It's such great peace of mind to know that no matter what happens to me, if I have this little thing with me and a clear view of the sky, I can communicate with people. So highly recommend this. This and all of the items that I will talk about are in my gear list. It's on my website at www.jjb.life/gear. All the links to these gear items are in there. Mostly it's still a work in progress. Some of them are still getting in there, but if you want to see what I carried on the PCT, that is where to do it. So last thing about emergency preparedness, have a plan for emergencies, keep a list of your contacts with you, and remember that it's okay to ask for help if you need it. If you need help on the trail, ask for it. Everyone's in the same boat and everyone will enthusiastically give you assistance. All right, I think you are all set to hit the trail now with safety on your side. Thru-hiking is one of the most incredible experiences out there, and with a little preparation, you can make sure it stays that way. Do you have tips of your own? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear what's worked for you. So let us know in the comments, what did I miss? What would you prioritize? And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you found these tips helpful, and stay safe out there, y'all. Want to watch another video? Click here. Want to learn more about my upcoming trips? Click here. Want to subscribe and like all my videos and turn those bell notifications on?